Right. Okay. So in the marketing mix, there is an important P called promotion, right? Promo mix. This is all about how you communicate your audience. Yes, you might have a very good product and you might have distributed it everywhere in each and every channel, right? And also you might have uh, considered the right pricing and all those things probably would have, considered rather, right? However, how you are going to make sure that the awareness is built, how you are going to make sure that the positive attitude about your product, about your brand, about your organization is built, right? It's through promotions only you are going to do. Through the promo mix only you are going to do that, right? Meaning communications. How you communicate your offering, your benefits to your target audience, your consumers, your customers. So that is about the promotional mix. So what we are going to learn is how we define the promo mix. There are 5 tools in the promo mix. Mainly, there are more than nowadays, but mainly there are 5 tools which we are going to discuss. And also how we integrate these tools. It is about integrated marketing communications. So we are going to discuss the change in communications landscapes and the need for an integrated marketing communications, right? So the integrations, the word itself has the meaning. Integrated means you are connecting all. You are connecting all the mixes in the promo mix properly. In other words, you communicate something, take in one tool and communicating completely a different thing or taking a different message to your consumers using a different tool, right? This is what you call a disintegration. It's not properly integrated. For your message to be potent, your message to be strong, compelling to your consumers, you have to every time, integrate, and the same consistent message has to be there. That is what you call integrated marketing communications. Just tell me, why we should, integrate, why we should consistently share, send, or communicate, convey the same message to your customers. What's the reason? Why should we do that? As marketeer, any idea as marketeers, why we should, consistently send out the same message? It will also enhance the loyalty. I think, when you're, if you take any, well-known brand, right? Take Coca-Cola, right? So for last so many years, it has the same consistent message, right? Consistent message. And if you take certain brands like Kit Kat, right? Cadbury, same consistent message, right? If you take even local Sri Lankan brands like Munchie, right? For example, same old message consistently, right? By doing that, what will happen in consumers' mind? Consumers create connections with brands. So when that message travels, automatically we have that connections with the brand. Comes to the top of our mind, oh, look here, so they are talking about this. Yeah, they're talking about, this sort of, offering, right? This is the brand that they are. Certain brands, they have certain jingles. right? You can remember the jingle of like, a brand Lifebuoy, right? The jingle for a long period of time, they are having the same jingle. And when you hear it, so you feel like, okay, you are connected. Yeah, you are connected, right? Take Anchor, for example, like, good old jingle, the Anchor had. So when you hear it again and again, like, even without any sort of, visual content, you can recognize the brand. Yeah. Even Elephant House cream soda, we know the jingle. Yeah. So it connects with you emotionally. So when you have something consistently communicating on air, it will establish in your consumer's mind. Yeah. So we consumers, we have something called a consideration set, right? What is it? Consideration set. Meaning, when it comes to a need, we have few brands or few products which we give the priority to, right? One, two, three, four. Likewise, so there are few brands which are in our consideration set, top of the mind. When we hear cement, Sanstha in Sri Lanka, like, or INSEE, right? There are certain brands automatically comes to your mind. So this is what you call consideration set. So how does this happen? This doesn't happen like, automatically. This happens consistent messaging, consistent communication over a long period of time. Certain brands like, they just come to the market and next day you don't see it. And no marketing, no communications, no promotions, nothing like that. And, they don't exist, right? So this is why this is happening for these brands, because they are not consistent, right? And also they are not putting any effort to communicate what they've got. All right, moving on. A view of the communications process, steps in developing effective marketing communications. So where we outline the communication process and the steps in developing effective marketing communications. So which we are going to learn what are the steps, what is the communication process, and how you are, putting your effort to develop an effective marketing communication strategies. Then the another objective is setting the total promotional budget and mixed socially responsible marketing communication. So you can do any number of activities in number of advertising. However, you are limited by finance. You are limited by budget. You as marketeers will not get or will not have luxury of spending a lot of money. Yeah. And if you try to spend a lot of money also, after a certain point, you will not get the return. There is a theory called law of diminishing return. Law of diminishing return. Meaning, after a certain point, the return that you are gaining is diminishing, is coming down. Even though you spend more money, even though you keep on, advertising, you are not getting more people added to your coverage. Yeah. So there are certain limitations like that. So you have to, understand the threshold point. What is that optimum point? Beyond that point, you have to, stop or reduce your communication. It's not that, you get all the money in the world, right? But, there's a limited budget you are getting for your promotional activities. How you are going to effectively use that budget will determine the success of your campaign, which we'll learn. Yeah. Okay. So what is the promotional mix? The promotional mix, as I told you, there are five main elements, right? It is a company's total promotional mix, also called its marketing communication mix, consists of specific blend of advertising, that is one, public relations, two, personal selling, sales promotions, and direct marketing tools, right? These are the so-called promotional mix tools, communications tools that we have, right? That the company uses to persuasively communicate customer value and build customer relationship. Yes, you are right, Sharon. So this will help you to build that loyalty. This will help you to build that customer relationship. Ultimately, what you are trying to achieve is a consistent business. There has to be a very good clientele in your business. For them to start believing in you, you have to tell them what you are doing, what you have in your plate for them. Yeah, so that is what you are doing through communications. Right. So, what are these tools? Advertising. So, this is any paid form of non personal presentations and promotions of ideas, goods, or services by an identified sponsors, right? So advertising means is simply like you are using the channels, using media for your advantage. Media is a tool where consumers or people get connected with for their entertainment purpose. So, it could be like print media, digital media, and also televisions, right? So those are the main three media. And there are media like, if you take outdoor, certain like, advertising boards, billboards, hoardings, billboards, notice boards, right? Digital boards, so on and so forth. There are many different media channel available for us, which we can use for our advantage, right? We know like there are people like who come to these media stations, channels, or getting the benefit of that. So whilst they are doing that part, like we as marketers should get the maximum out of these media channels. Sales promotions. This is a short-term incentive to encourage the purchase or sales of a product or service, which we discussed like in pricing as well. There are certain incentives that we offer. Price rebate for consumers, right? So that's a sales promotions. Maybe bundle offers is another tactic or a small incentive that we are giving, right? Seasonal offers, another sort of tactic. And maybe like you buy get one free, or maybe buy a bundle or give your a free gift, something like that, right? Or ask people to participate in a raffle draw. Yeah, there are many things like that, that especially in supermarkets or maybe in retail clothing shops, you get these kind of things where you go and buy things like for a specific amount that they have mentioned, and you get a chance or you stand a chance to win something or a big one. Yeah, grand reward or something like that. There are maybe like even instant gratifications. Instant you will win something. Plus like so you will get enrolled to a grand draw. Yeah. And there are certain TV shows also like where you get the opportunity to participate in those TV shows, right? These kind of things are called sales promotions. Yeah. Give me some examples that like or you have got experienced or exposure in terms of like getting participated in sales promotion. Do you all have any examples for this? Uh, yeah, so there are many kind of sales promotional activities happening in the world in different markets, right? Online, we see a lot of promotions. Like, if you go to any e-com site, yeah, as I explained the other day, if you are a first, um, if you are first visit, right? So these websites can easily identify, right, whether you are an existing customer or a new customer, right? So if you are a new customer, they offer you a lot of things, right? Because they want you to convert yourselves to a potential customer, not like just a visitor, right? And then, so they continuously share with you, informations, maybe to your mobile, maybe to your email address, right? Continuously sending messages, sending certain offers, especially keep you interested in the products or the brands. And also, if you take certain restaurants, if you have visited certain restaurants, you probably would have given your email or your personal informations and with your consent, right? They are continuously sending you some of the offers. Why they are doing that? Because wanted to give certain small incentive, right? So which will help them generate sales, right? So these are called sales promotions. Then the personal selling, which is personal presentations by the firm's sales force for the purpose of making sales and building customer relationship. Personal selling means most of the time B2B business, business to business, where so you have your sales guys, they they go meet the buying department of the organizations, right? And make sales pitch, right? So which is a personal selling kind of things, right? And even if you take medical marketing, where there are make a sales pitch, right, for certain medical practitioners, right? So why they are doing is it's in a way help them to build that trust, the relationships, and in turn, you know, achieving or generating higher sales. Right? So this is what you call personal sales. Public relations is building good relations with the company's various publics by obtaining favorable publicity. Building up a good corporate image and handling or heading off unavoidable rumors, stories, and events. PR, the public relations. This is manage your stakeholders, your internal and external stake. Internal means your employees, shareholders. Pressure. There are a lot of people that you depend on, right? Doing a business is not a easy task, not at all. You have to always think about what others are thinking, right? If you create any negativity around your product, the brand, organization, to get rid of or erase that negativity, it will take long time. Certain businesses collapsed because of this negativity. Yeah. But there are certain businesses, they anyhow managed these kind of negativities. How they have done is they have not done miracles. They have been, having very good PR with the stakeholders. For example, Maggie in India. So there's a huge protest against Maggie. There is a boycott against Maggie because, so there's a pressure group. So they were, highlighting the fact that, so the brand Maggie or the product that they have, instant noodles, is having some substances which are harmful for human body, right? So that was the negativity it was created. And, company had to go through a lot of challenges. However, slowly but surely, they came out from that issue, right? Came out from that negativity. Because they were able to manage key stakeholders, right? There are certain companies continuously spending on, this is PR is not spending a lot of money, right? PR is like, most of the time, how you connect with your stakeholders. How are you creating that relationship, right? No, I think the best example is Virgin, right? Which Branson's like Virgin Group airline, right? So he's like using this strategy to the fullest. Whenever he's launching something, whenever he launched, right? So he used the PR, wanted to get the attentions of the stakeholders, get the attentions of the public, right? And whenever so you go entice people with something like so they started talking about it. And they started posting some messages, right, in their Facebook or Instagram or any other social media. So this is what they have used. So it's a free media. It's a free media. So that is what we call public relations, right? Direct marketing, direct connections with carefully targeted individual consumers to both obtain an immediate response and cultivate lasting customer relationship. This is like the personal selling and direct marketing. There are some similarities. However, direct marketing is here your customers, few customers, and you are giving that those customers a good service, personalized service, personalized service. So that is what we call direct marketing. Most of the time, insurance agents, they do have this approach, direct marketing. Whenever they see, whenever they identify, we'll say potential customers. So they don't just go and make the sales pitch. So they are checking the background, doing the background check, and helping out the person in the process, and trying to build that trust first. Yeah. Slowly but surely putting across the proposal and making sure the customer has changed to or converted to a buyer. Yeah, so this is what we call direct marketing. Yeah, so these are the main 5 P's or five promotional tools that we use in integrated marketing communications. Right. In the past decades, marketers perfected the art of mass marketing, selling highly standardized products to masses of customers. If you take history, right? Before 2000, it was all about how you do advertising effectively, how you use TV as a influensive marketing tool, how you use TV to communicate to your consumers, reach a larger audience. You know that is possible through TV. You can reach a large audience. However, today it has been fragmented. There are many TV stations. If you take Sri Lanka, for example, back in 1970s, we had only one or two TV stations. Yeah. And people were glued to the televisions during that time because that was a whole new experience, right? And people were not telecasting things like 24 hours. There is a specific time bell, maybe like from 6 to 8 or 6 to 9. So that's the time period, like everyone was there in the living room, like so you have the TV, at a stretch, like you are, and they did not have at that time the remote control, right? So then you can't change the channels also, since there's only two channels, like no, you don't change the channels. And you had to, at a stretch, see the advertisements, and then television dramas, and also news, yeah, or maybe any other musical programs. But things have changed, right? So that, like the marketeers mastered it. It was not a challenge at all, right? Placing your advertisements when the TV stations or TV is not proliferated. Doing marketing was very simple, very simple. However, today it's not that simple. Like, there are many television channels. In Sri Lanka, I has close to about 20-25 TV stations, right? Yeah. So that much of TV channels we have in Sri Lanka. Not only that, like, people do have the options of switching today from one channel to another channel, right? So you invest money. However, whenever, like, consumers or people, they see advertisement, they switch. All right. And also now we have cable TV. So you have the options of, rewinding, making uh you can like watch anything that you want on a later date, or maybe like in few hours, right? So there are many options today. Plus, with the so-called digitizations, and with the availability of digital media, now people are not spending that much of time on TV, right? So their favorite musical programs, they go to YouTube and watch. News article, they go to YouTube and watch, right? So therefore, things have completely changed. Media has become fragmented. People are, behavior have changed, right? So as marketeers have changed their strategies, right? In the process, they develop effective mass media communication techniques to support these strategies. Like, over a period of time, things are changing, moving very fast, making things more complex. And to be aligned with changing environment, marketers have also changed things, right? Okay. The new marketing communications model. There are several major factors are changing the face of today's marketing communications, right? What are those factors? First, consumers are changing, which we know, right? We have changed. You have changed. Like, no, we did not have the mobile device, smart mobile device about 10-15 years ago. Today, we have that, and we have everything on our mobile phones, right? If you want to make a payment, you can do it through your mobile phone. If you want to get information, you can do immediately, right? There are applications now, right? There are applications, banking applications, ride-hailing applications, right? Whatnot. Like, even if you want to order something, like, you can order, if you want to order food, you can order, right? You can do anything with the mobile phone that you have today, right? So consumer behaviors have changed. How we have done shopping have changed. Yeah. How we have you know, how we have engaged with the media have changed, right? Second, so marketing strategies are changing, right? So good old days, the marketing strategies, as I mentioned, it's um, place in an advertisement, right? Or in mass media, TV. Now it's not that so we have influencer marketing, content marketing, we have search engine optimizations. Not only that, even if you take AI, right? So with the changes happening in digital arena, AI has become super important, right? Super influential, right? So you have to now market to AI. Earlier, you are marketing to consumers. Now you have to market it to AI. Because if you have anything, you go and ask AI, what you would recommend me to, use, right? Because AI is your avatar. You all have your avatar, if you are using any AI applications in your mobile phone, it learns you, right? It learns you with the sort of, questions that you ask, with the certain informations that you get from AI, and also places that you go. Yeah. So it learns, right? So AI knows you better than anyone else, right? Imagine after, about 5 years, how much of information that AI would know about you than even your better half, right? Even your better half. Because AI knows what web contents that you are interested in, yeah. What sort of online behaviors you're having, the places that you are going, right? Things that you are watching, right? Everything, because they are downloaded in your mobile phone. If you are spending 2 to 3 hours, on average, any person in the world spending 3 to 4 hours on their smartphone, right? Per day, right? So meaning they're spending good amount of time on the mobile phone. And you have data on 24/7, location on 24/7, right? And the places that you go get recorded. Yeah. So imagine AI can analyze anything, right? Than human very fast. So things have changed. And the marketing strategies are changing. Now we have to, uh, of course, market to AI than the consumers. Finally, sweeping advances in communications technology are causing remarkable changes in the ways in which companies and customers communicate with each other. So today, it's all about personalized communications, right? For me from Sri Lanka, I should be able to send a communication to Sharon, targeting him, I know what Sharon is doing, what characteristic he's having, right? And also the places, areas that he is interested in. Yeah, it's very easy to get that information and should be able to send a targeted, personalized communications to Sharon. Yeah, and you might have seen uh number of advertisements appeared in your Insta or the TikTok or maybe Facebook or any other social media that you use. The moment that you go search something, maybe in a AI platform or maybe in Google, right? Or maybe even if you go to any e-com applications, you go type something and you wanted to search a product, next hour you would see a lot of advertisements related to the same search that you did is appearing in your social media site. Yeah, see the connection, see the connections. Same thing if you visited the place where we'll say the amusement park, right? The moment that you go there, and next moment if you go to like your social media, get a lot of information about that place, and also like there are recommendations for other places. Yeah, imagine how things are connected, and even without our knowledge, we are being controlled. Our behaviors being monitored, and our behaviors are now being controlled by who? Marketing, by brands, right? Not by us. Our behaviors today are not being controlled by us. It's being controlled by, some other one. Right. Okay. So therefore, this is why we need integrated marketing communications. Yeah. Things are changing, consumers are changing, channels are changing, strategies are changing, a lot of changes happening. Right. We all are connected. We are in a connected world, right? You, me, everyone in a connected world. Yeah. So if you had, watched the film, The Matrix, right? So it was talking about what is happening today. Yeah. So the connected world. Yeah. Yes, of course, it's a action thriller. However, it has given you like, a bit of a, um, you know, idea, right, about the connected world. Yeah, what's going to happen in the connected world. Yeah. And we talk about digital currency, cashless society, right? Cardless society. Imagine in another few years' time, you will not have currency. Imagine like, in few years' time, you will have at your birth, like, you will have a chip inserted to your body, right? Maybe to your hand. This is already, experimented success in the United States. Like, no sooner you will get that. Like, there's a chip inserted, implanted into your body. So that is where like everything get stored, right? Yeah. You don't have like identity card, the birth certificates, like any other even like passbooks, right? Or any other thing like you don't want to carry anything like everything is stored in you, right? You have to just go and scan. Yeah, so that's what going to happen in future, right? So meaning everything is going to be connected, right? Complex. However, for marketeers, you have to every time think about as to how you are going to integrate things, right? uh, So IMC means that the company carefully integrates its many communication channels to deliver a clear, consistent, and compelling message about the organization and its brands. Everything changing but this one, consistent messaging. Right? This theory is not going to change. Your messaging has to be consistent, delivered in many media channels clearly and also consistent manner. That's the beauty of integrated marketing communication. So each contact with the brand will deliver a message, right? Whether good, bad, or indifferent, right? So see this image. This image is talking about the exact same thing. People, are connected. So our marketing communications message has to be integrated properly. Yeah. So meaning, so all these five main tools should properly be integrated, right? Nice. So let's, try to understand the communication process. Yes. Here we are talking about companies conveying message to consumers using media. there is a bit of a process, like, this is not, you won't see it properly. However, if you carefully analyze what is happening, like, from the sender to the receiver and what's happening in this process, you will get some steps. This is what I'm explaining here. Today, the marketers are moving towards viewing communications as managing the customer relationship over time. Yeah, so this is what Sharon also highlighted. It's about how you create that loyalty, right? Customer relationship. The communications involves the 9 elements. There are 9 major elements that we can see clearly, like segregate in this communication process, right? Yeah. So the first one is, as you all know, in any communication, there is a person who's responsible for sending the message. Yeah. So that person is called, person or the organization is called the sender. The sender, right? Okay. So we have the sender, maybe the the company or you, right? Or even like, you can say AI could be a sender today, right? Sender is sending something, sending a message, right? Sending something. So before deciding on the message the sender has to send, there is another small step is called encoding, right? Encoding. The message that sender has in his or her mind should properly be encoded, meaning translate into a something, right? It could be like, a sentence. It could be like, the video content. It could be a picture, image, something like that, right? But what you have in your mind, you should translate it to that, right? When you are doing that, like, complete idea or the thinking that you have will not be able to, you will not be able to convert to the message in full. If you consider how your brain is processing, you have many different ideas. But if someone asks you, okay, go and write what you have thought about, you will not be able to write everything, right? Or maybe for you are giving that task to someone, right? If like, uh, Sharon has an idea. So Sharon is telling Sajivani, look here, you have to write down the idea that I have. But Sajivani will not be able to, do the exact same thing. Right? There is a bit of a gap. So encoding is like, getting the idea rightly to the message, right? Yes, of course, there will be a gap. You will not be able to, get it 100%, but there is a gap. There will be a gap anyway. So that step is called encoding, right? Third one is message. Now you converted the communications idea to the message, because the message is what the receiver is seeing. Message is what the consumer is, getting. It's not like, the idea that the person has in his mind is in the message, right? Message could be like, could be in different forms. As I mentioned, it could be in a real form, in a still form, maybe in a, image form, right? Or maybe lyrics, right? Or jingle, or may also be like, aroma, like that could also be a message, right? So the next element is the message in our communication process, right? So now you have the message, sender has encoded and converted it to a message being sent to the receiver. Before receiver, properly comprehend it, receiver has to decode the message, right? Receiver has to decode the message, right? Decoding mean you know, how you know, read the message, right? How you read the message. This is this is a very challenging thing for marketers. It's very difficult for you to convince consumers or people to receive or read the message exact same way that you want them to read. Yeah, that's a very challenging thing. Why? Why consumer is not reading the message exact same way? Can you all give some, reasons why they can't, read the message exact same way that the sender wants to, wants them to read it? This will have several influences, especially the sender, rather the receiver. How he receives the message will be dependent on certain factors. Number one could be state of the mind of the receiver, right? If the receiver is not in a good condition, probably receiver is not paying any attention. Yeah. And you are not receiving the message in the correct way. Number two could be the bias. The receiver could have certain bias in his or her. Why so the way that the receiver has been brought up, the cultural impact, yeah, and also the education level. Imagine all those things will have certain level of influence on your uh you know you are especially in your ability to read things, right? Reading means not reading lines, something like the ability to understand, yeah. And especially the culture, right? If you are hearing certain things uh getting certain things, right, from a different culture which is not suitable for your culture, you are receiving that in a different way, right? For example, in the UAE, people read things from right to left, right? Is it the same still in the UAE? How people read, the
Yeah, yeah.
it's the same. You read things from, I think left. It's not left to right. It's right to left, right? So if you go and convert your message, right, directly, then the receiver would receive a different message, right? Different encoding, right? So that's what's happening. So you have to, pay more attention when you are developing your message. Yeah. See, this is not that simple, guys, right? We are seeing a lot of advertisements, right? There may be some simple advertisements. However, there's a huge, complexity in that. And there's a, process that advertisers will have to go through. And ultimately, you are spending a lot of money if consumers are not decoding the things that the way that you want them to decode. I think your message, you are money will go waste. Your money will go waste, right? So we should not let that happen, right? So then the receiver, yeah, as I told you, like, different. You want them to receive the message exact same way that you want, that you have sent. But different people are receiving the message in different ways based on their education, state of mind, their, geo-demographic characteristics, so on and so forth. They are receiving the message in different way. Yeah, so once the receiver has received a message, right, the communications, there will be a response, right? Response could be like, in terms of not acting upon the communications. Like, some people just, get ignore it. They don't want to do anything about it. Yeah. When you see an advertisement, sometimes like, you see it, like, you like it, but you are not doing any actions. So that is also a response, right? Not doing anything is also a response. Some people like, probably, responding in a positive way, right? You are sharing that communication with someone else. That is a response. Yeah. You discuss about that communication with someone else negatively is also a response. And also, like, you probably get yourself influenced and ended buying the product. It's another response, right? So there are a lot of things happening, right? Respond. So once you responded, negative, positive, like, whatever the way that you responded, yeah, then there is another step called the feedback, right? Some people do give feedback. Some people don't give feedback, right? Some people give feedback in a way of a complaint. Some people give feedback in a way of compliment, right? Both these two things happen, right? So that's the feedback. Yeah. Some people don't give feedback directly to the receiver. They give feedback indirectly, like, sending the message to others indirectly. Yeah. So go, like, send talk to a set of bunch of people, like, talking about the advertisements or whatever, sending that feedback, right? However, the informations will get distorted, like, when you are sending certain things, like, through a chain, through a number of people, like, you are sending the same message, because the receiver or whoever in the chain will can easily distort it and give a different message, like, we have seen, like, this happening in most of the time, right? Right. Okay, so this is the communications process that we see. This is a usual communication process, right? There are, what are the important things, important steps here? All the steps are important, but if you take encoding and message, right, and decoding, these three things are very much important, right? If you don't encode and convert to a perfect message, then the decoding will go wrong. Yeah, so then you have to pay attention, put more effort in terms of, like, getting the right message, right? When you are deciding on the message, you have to think about the media that you are going to use, because message is not, message is sent through a media, via a media. You are not just sending the message, right? So there has to be a media, right? So then you need to carefully choose media channels, right? And make sure the message is also developed in line with the characteristics of the media channel. For example, if it is like, televisions that you are going to use as a media channel, then you have to always think about a video content than a still. right? If you are using a still, like, people will not pay attention. You don't get the attention, right? You don't get the attention, right? So need to consider the media channels, like, today more digital. Yeah. If it is like, we'll say social media, how you get people, interact with your content. Yeah. How you, like, stop them, like, on your advertisement rather than letting them to swipe, right? Scroll, right? You have to, think about those things. And, how do you get them click through your advertisements and land on your, what we call the your landing page, right? So that is something like we have to consider when you are doing this, right? However, in all this process, in whole of this process, there's something that is disturbing the process, is called noise. Noise is not the sound, right? Here the noise is disturbances in terms of, like, clutter, right? Clutter means, like, there are many things, like, message, there are many ways of, like, sending the message. There are many different channels, right? And the noise could come in a way of, like, uh, the pressure coming from peer groups, right? Noise could come in terms of, like, competitor responses, competitor behaviors, how competitors are reacting, how they are countering you. So that noise is there. The noise could come also from substitute products. Noise could come also from you know government itself, right? You know, so you have to think about as to how you are going to manage the noise also, right? Manage the noise. Imagine a situation where, like, you go on heavy, like, on television, TV during an election time. Yeah. So huge noise, right? There are number of advertisements, and consumers are bombarded with many informations during that period. I hope, like, all of you, both of you have got some experience, like, by watching, like, election, uh, special telecast, right? Where, like, so people are glued to the televisions, thinking about election results. In the meantime, like, you see, like, there is, you know, uh, like, teledrama or a film, or maybe certain discussions, political discussions. So much of things are happening, right? That is also the noise, huge noise. So how you manage this noise is also important for you to perfectly, send out the communications to your consumers, your target audience, right? So how do you do that? For you to reduce the noise, you have to first get the attention, right? Get the attentions of your consumers, right? So there is a model called AIDA that you can use, AIDA, right? AIDA. First, you get the attention. Yeah. So how you get the attention? You can get the attentions by being creative, right? Yeah. By being creative. It could be like, you are using some humor, right? You can use humor in your message, right? Carefully, right? So for you to get the attention, right? For you to get the attention, because you want to reduce the noise, you want to get the attentions of your consumers, you can also think about, using some celebrities in your content. Yeah, that will also help you to, grab the attention. Or also you can think about, like, certain famous jingle, right? So you are converting the jingle, right? With the lyrics that you have made for your brand, right? The tune is like, very much familiar. Consumers know about it, people know about it. And to that tune, like, you are put in your words, lyrics, right? So then, you get the attention, right? You get rid the noise which are surrounded by your, message, right? Uh, and, grab the attention of consumers by, infusing certain jingles which are famous, right? And also you can think about like, yes, as I mentioned, humor, um, or maybe like, you are questioning. So when you go ask a big question, right, people, tend to pause themselves and think about it. Okay, what is this one is asking, right? Or else you can, think about instant gratifications. Yeah, small gratifications. You are asking people to do some actions for a small gratifications, which will help also them advertiser to reduce the noise. Yeah. So these are the kind of things that you do, like, to get the attention. Then I. I is the interest. First, attention by like, giving certain, putting certain jingles, maybe like, you're using celebrities, right? So on and so forth for you to get the attention. Then the interest, you have to create the interest towards your message. So you can create the interest maybe like, by giving informations about your message, right? You give some informations. It will create interest, right? Or like, so when the celebrity is doing an action or giving recommendations, so that will create some interest, yeah? Some interest. Or maybe like, you give some sort of, uh, assurance, right? If you use this product for 14 days, your skin will be whitened. Yeah. So the assurance, right? Some call to actions, right? So that will give you the sort of, interest. Yeah. So that is I. Then the desire, right? You create that desire. So for you to create that desire in your message, you can, incorporate certain tactics. One could be money back guarantee, right? So you are giving like, so don't worry if result is not there, we are giving the money back, right? That's the desire. You are creating that desire, right? Or maybe like, you give some early birds of us, like, especially iPhone or Samsung Galaxy, like, series, like, so they are giving early bird of us, right? So that will create desire, right? So at certain things like, for you, for your consumers or target audience to have that desire. Once the desire is there, of course, they will go to the final stage, that is action, AIDA, action, right? Attention, interest, desire, and action. Action is, buying the products, right? Doing some, again, giving some feedback, like, so this is what you, as a marketeer, when you are trying to communicate your message with your target groups, you have to always think about. So this is not an easy task, guys. Like, yes, this is easy said and done. Yeah. However, when you are doing things in practice, if you are a smart marketeer, You have to think about these things. And ultimately, it's about your organization's money that you are spending, right? You are spending money that your organization, either would like to, share with the shareholder, or maybe give it to the share it with the employees as increments, right? Okay. So steps in developing effective marketing communications, right? So yes, there are certain things that we have to manage, especially the noise. But if you go through these steps, you can, manage these noises, right? And you will run your communication effectively, right? Identify your target audience is must, so this is a fundamental in marketing. We have been talking about this. Identify your audience properly. Yeah. If you not if you're not identified properly, I think you are doing everything wrong. Right? If you don't know about your marketing, your audience properly, you are doing all your campaigns wrong, right? So then second one is determine the communications objectives, right? Each communications has should have some objectives, right? You are not doing any marketing activities without a proper objectives, right? Here, the objectives could be reaching out to X many number of people, right? With the message. Or maybe your objective to create awareness, right? There may be some challenging objectives like getting into consumers' consideration set. Those are challenging objectives, right? So you have to set objectives. Third one, so now you have the target audience, you know the objectives that you want to achieve, and you have to design a proper message, right? Thinking about all the noises that will be there in the market, thinking about how your target audience is going to decode, you have to design the message. And thinking about what media channel you are going to use, you have to design the message, right? Fourth one, choose the media through which to send the message. So you can't just decide the media channel, whether I'm going to use TV, whether I'm going to use digital media, YouTube or social media or billboard, right? Newspapers, radio, right? There are many different media channels. However, it's a strategic task for you to do, when it comes to choosing a media channel, right? You have to think about what's my objectives, what reach that I want to achieve, right? And this is my target audience, right? And this target audience, largely they watch TV, right? Then another percentage they always actively participate in social media, right? Or there is another percentage of people they don't spend time on TV, don't spend time on social media, but they are on the move, right? There is another segment so they are interested in reading out newspapers, blah blah blah. So you need to have a better understanding about your audience and also their associations of media channel, right? If not when you are scheduling things, you probably do certain schedules which are irrelevant. Yeah. So you will just spend money unnecessarily there. Yeah. The next step is select message source. right? Here the message is there, the source is like, what sort of format, the content, right? So what you are going to incorporate in your message. You have to select, then you have to, think about how you are going to collect feedback. You need to give like, some options for consumers to send feedback, which is like, very much possible in digital environment. Instantly you will be able to, get the feedback and respond to those feedback, have that conversations going is possible. However, in traditional media like TV, newspaper, or maybe even radio, like, billboards, outdoor, you will not be able to, you know, gather information or collect feedback, right? Right. Let's move on. Right. Identify target audience. The marketing communication starts with clear target audience. This is what I explained. Like, so your market is highly fragmented, proliferated, like, is going to be like, very difficult for you to identify your target audience correctly, right? The audience may be current users or potential buyers, those who make the buying decisions or those who influence it, right? Sometimes certain products like, target audience would be secondary, right? For example, like, if you are producing infant milk powder or something like that, right? Your primary, your consumers are the infants, but they are not the people like, who are making decisions, right? Then you have to think about as to how you are going to target the influencers, right? Mainly the housewives, right? Mothers, yeah, right. Determine the communications objectives, right? Here, like, some of things. The target audience may be in any of six buyer readiness stages. The stages consumers normally pass through on their way to making purchases, right? The audience could be like, as I mentioned, current users who may be potential buyers, right? There may be some people like, who already have the awareness about the product, right? Some people, yes, they know about the products, but they don't know much, they don't have much knowledge about it, right? No much information, right? There could be some people, of course, they already spread the liking, right? Just they like it, right? There could be like, some people they prefer it, right? There are people like, who already convinced, they have the conviction, already convinced, right, to buy the product, right? And there are people like, who already buy. So imagine, so when you have like, many different types of consumers in your target audience who are in different stages, your messaging, choice of channels, all those things very much crucial, right? Yeah, how you like, there could be people who don't know about your products, so awareness would be very much low, right? Then how you create that awareness, yeah, and for each of these type of buyers, like, you have to send the message. You have to design your message to suit, all of these people. Yeah. Right. So this is one example, the type, right? Uh, then the design message. When putting a message together, marketing communicators must decide what to say, message content and how to say it, message structure and format, right? This is an art, right? A marketer will not be able to do this alone. You need to get the expertise help. Maybe advertising agencies, content creators, content writers, so they are the experts, right? In that particular area. So you should be able to get their help for you to, create the message that you want. Yeah. So if you try to, do it alone, you will mess it. You will definitely mess things up. Okay, the content, it could be like, rationale based, like, for certain products, for you to, create that convictions, you need to give the rationale, yeah, the logic, right? It is not emotional sometimes, like, for about, if you take the toothpaste, as we discussed, like, you have to give that rationale, right? And there are certain products you definitely have to have some emotional appeals. Emotionally, you should be able to connect. There has to be emotional appeals. Like, for example, when you are selling insurance, right? People will not think about it because it's not a primary requirement. And you have to, have a bit of an emotional connections, emotional appeals in your content, in your message. And there will be some sort of connections that consumers would create with your brand. Yeah? And moral appeal, like, there will be certain products, brands, which require some moral appeal, right? So it will give you some sort of, moral upliftment for the consumers when they hear, when they see that advertisements, right? Um, you know, I'm not getting like, an example for that, but, so there are advertisements, there are contents, which already there, with this moral appeals, right? Messaging structure, right? How you structure your message, right? Of course, you need the help of the experts, right? So here, how you should structure the message. Marketers must also decide how to handle three messaging issues, right? There are three messaging issues which could happen to anyone, right? The first one is whether to draw a conclusion, so leave it to the audience, right? Whether you are going to draw a conclusion or, give audience a chance to conclude, right? You are ending with a question, right? Are you ready to buy this? Are you ready to explore the new adventure? You are ending with something like that, right? And you are giving consumers to conclude, make that decision. The second message structure issue is whether to present the strongest arguments first or last. Yeah. So in your message, you have to, convince the consumers there may be a potent factor which will, influence the consumers. Where do you put? Is it at the beginning with the start of your content, or at the end, when, consumers go to your message? Finally, it will get stick, right? How you strike that balance is an issue, right? The the structure. The third message structure issue is whether to present a one-sided argument mentioning only the product strengths, or a two-sided arguments, touching the product's strengths while also admiring its shortcomings. This is a tricky one. Whether you want to, highlight the negative sides also whilst giving more positives, right? Or completely, avoid the negative sides and talk about, you know, here is straightforward. Like, we should not highlight negatives. Like, we are marketeers. We should not highlight negatives when it comes to, sending out your message, right? The formats I told you, like, it could be reels, stills, different format. Choosing media, yes, based on your audience, um, based on the reach, objectives, your communication campaign, you are gonna choose media, right? It could be one or two media, channels, or it could be many media channels, right? Depending on your budget, depending on your objectives, depending on your target audience, you are selecting the media, right? Right. Okay. Are like, the traditional TV, radio, and the print media, right? But there are personal media channels also, or rather the personal communication channels, right? So where like, you can use person-to-person communications, right? Telephone communications, maybe like, SMS messages, those are personal, right? Uh, Probably you would have got experience like, especially like banks, like, so they have this personal communication channels. They directly call you whenever there is an offer, whenever there is a great, loan scheme, something like that. So they tend to call you and give informations, right? So that is what we call like, personal communication channels. Word of mouth influencers, like, get, there are certain peoples in the community, they are very strong influencers, right? Like, digital influencers we have nowadays. Yeah. So you have followers, and for those influencers, like, so they are like, great marketing assets. And so more the follower base, more the influence that you have. They're expensive also. But so they have a great, great influence and a very good marketing access. But good old days, like, in communities, we used to have some good influencers, communicators, and people tend to believe in what they're saying, right? Opinion leaders. They have certain opinions, right? Those opinions people tend to believe. Yeah. So if you are able to tap on to one of these people, and probably like influence them, and we would ask them to in a subtle way use the brand, right? Probably like we'll say one when he's like in a community, he can use the product, right? When the person is having a tea, like, probably can use a branded mug or something like that, right? So these kind of tactics you can use. These are the personal communication channels, right? Uh, so the buzz marketing, where like most of the time, like we'll get these opinion leaders or opinion formers, right? So they spread a lot of informations, right? The opinion could be like for a different topic. However, you use the persons in a smart way, right? Today it's going to be like more influencer marketing, right? Right. Non-personal communication channels are media, so that's what we normally know, right? All these channels, digital channels, those are non-personal. Okay. Selecting the message source. In either personal or non-personal communication, the message's impact also depends on how the target audience views the communicator. Message delivered by highly credible sources are more persuasive. Like, the source, when you are selecting that media source, like, we'll say print media, if the the press is credible, right? Yes, print media, but your source is credible, then there is a very high conviction, right? Very high conviction in consumers, right? If you if you are sending your message in a, we'll say, uh, through a digital media, YouTube media, which is having some negative marketing, right? Sending some negative communications, getting famous through negative marketing, then the conviction would be very much lower, right? So you have to be very careful about the credibility of the source that you are using in the media channel. Collecting feedback, as I told you, you have to give that options. Yeah, you have to give that options to collect, feedback is a must. Good or bad feedback are very important, right? Because it will shape you in the future, right? If there are no feedback, you don't know where you went wrong. You don't know whether you are doing right things, right? Whether you are on the right path. You don't know. So feedback always welcome, right? And the budget, right? So budgeting is based on your objectives, right? What you want to achieve based on your reach and your engagement with consumers, right? If you have a very high expectation, very high reach target, right? And then your budgeting is going to be, or finance allocation is going to be very high, right? How we look, okay, so here we look at four common methods. So there are four common methods that we can use. One is like, very easy, affordable method. How much you can, spend. Yeah, it's very top down. You give the budget and use the budget, right? Then the percentage of sales method. So this is very rationality. You, from the sales, you allocate a percentage for communications. Very logical, right? And it will also have a win-win situations where your stakeholders are also winning, shareholders rather. Also, like, you as a marketer is winning. You can, create awareness, generate trials, right? Generate the demand, right? And it will, when the sales is moving up, going up, your budget will also improve. Yeah. So this is very logical approach. Competitive parity method, like, some organization, they think like, my objective is to gain market share as a marketing objective, then I need to spend more money. I need to spend money more than what competitors are spending, right? I want higher share of voice. Voice means like, how strong you are in media, right? With you, you're being like, you know, uh, loud enough, right? So if you have a higher other, you have a higher share of ability that you have, like, you will get the attention, right? And the fourth one is objective and test, right? So you have an objective, and right, you do a pre-trial, right? Do a pre-trial uh, versus, like, your objective, how you are going to achieve your objectives with the budget, right? You, like, um, release some amount of money, then, see, like, whether you have achieved your objective. If not, like, again you are releasing money. So that is how you are doing, right? So it has the explanations here, right? Right. Then shaping the overall promotional mix. The concepts of integrating marketing communication suggest that the company must blend the promotions tools carefully into a coordinated promotional mix, right? So this is, you are like, you have all these five tools or little more than that nowadays, like, however, there has to be a perfect blend, right? And you should not overly invest in certain tools, right, which are not relevant also, right? There could be, like, certain tools which are probably underspent. Yeah. You have to strike this balance. Yeah. That's what you need to decide as a marketer, how you are striking that balance. When you're doing that, you have to always think about, like, certain shortcomings that are there in each tools, right? All these tools are important. However, there are shortcomings also. For example, in advertising. Advertising is impersonal and lacks the direct persuasion. So advertisements in TV advertisements, there's no persuasion, right? And also you don't have control. Like personal selling, you have the control, right? Advertising can carry on only one way. So there is no way for you to get the feedback directly, live, real time. That's not possible in advertising, right? However, if you have digital content like now, so you'll be able to get that. Right? Traditional media, very much difficult, and this is costly. Advertising is costly, and another shortcoming is like you're wasting. You would be like wasting your money also because you don't have that control, right? Personal selling, yeah. Person say the most effective tools for certain stages of the buying process, right? So it's direct, like you are going and you can answer the questions then and there what consumers are having. However, you will not be able to cover a large audience. This is the shortcoming. Very much expensive, right? And it will take longer time. Yeah. Imagine, like, if you have millions of customers, like you are going from one customer to another customer, doing that selling, doing the sales pitch. Oh my goodness, how many hours you have to spend, maybe how much of resources you would require, right? Is very much costly, right? And the sales promotions, very tactical, good, right? But short term, right? In the longer run, if you are having sales promotions continuously, people would think like, no, this product is not moving. That is why they are giving so much of promotions. Public relations, very important, good one. However, you need to manage carefully. Right? The biggest shortcoming that public relation has, like, when you overly depend on certain, media, right? Uh, so that will have a bias, right? So there has to be like always balance approach, negatives, positives, right? If you only get positives every time, consumers would think like this is a fake, this is not trustworthy, right? So you have to strike the balance, like maybe few negatives, more positives. Yeah. So you are managing the public relations activities properly, right? Direct marketing, yes. So there are certain approaches like direct mails, catalogs, online marketing, mobile marketing, all those things are direct marketing. Uh, but so the biggest issue that we have in direct marketing is like you maybe like sending certain things which are not relevant to your uh, target audience, right? And reach, right? Because the content probably you are customizing, but when you are trying to do is like many number of people, again irrelevant, again waste of your money, right? Okay, there are two main promotional mix strategies that consume marketers are using, right? In marketing, one is push strategy, then the second one is pull strategy, right? The push strategy means like you have the media, you have like channels, right? You push your products through the channels, right? Especially it could be used in your sales team. It could be used in your channel partners, rather like retail partners, maybe wholesalers, retailers, right? You are giving them a huge incentive. You are asking them to push the products to consumers. That is what we call push strategy, right? The second one is pull strategy, is where you are investing a lot of money in terms of, communications, creating or generating that demand, right? Creating that desire in consumer. Once that desire is created, consumers would go and ask for the products from the channels, wholesalers and retailers, or maybe the salespeople. They are pulling the products through the channels, right? Push and pull. But you as a marketer should be able to strike the balance here as well. You can't, just have only push strategy, just have only pull strategy, but you need to balance. Have both pushing through the retail, pushing through the wholesale, and also you have to create that pull, right? Yeah. So this push and pull strategy is explained here in this diagram, right? So the producer is pushing through the wholesalers and retailers to the consumers, right? By giving heavy thumping incentives to retailers, right? Push pull strategy means like, you create the demand, right? Producer create the demands like, through advertising, consumer advertising, sales promotions, so on and so forth, right? Then the consumer will have the desire and will demand from retailers and the wholesalers. And the wholesalers and retailers will demand from the producers. That is the pull strategy, right? Here you need to like, have that balance for you to integrate. Both push pull has to be there in a more integrated manner. Yeah. Okay. Social responsible marketing, right? So we've been discussing like, even at the beginning, like, societal marketing. You can't, just promise things and under-deliver, right? Social society is not accepted. Will say you in your communications, you are showing something, but actual product is totally different. It's a fake or it may be a bogus, right? You can't do like that, right? Imagine like, especially in online marketing, why people don't have much trust on online, because so what you are communicating is not what you are giving. Yeah. So that's something like, people rejected and people, fed up with that. Yeah. In communications, if you are a responsible communicator, you have to, always communicate what you can offer, what you give in your product. Also, when you're doing that, like, you have to think about like, cultural aspects um, of the country, of the community, right? You can't, go against, have a conflicting situations when you're doing the communications, right? And you can't, hurt people in your communications as well. There are certain, things like, which are prohibited, right? Then you should not do, right? Especially like, if you are a tobacco seller, like tobacco advertisements is prohibited, right? So then you can't do. And there are certain things ethically not right. Yeah. Using, uh, you know, we'll say like, certain countries like, uh, underage like, labor, right? Is not an ethical, uh, sort of, activity which they like, right? And if you are using those kind of things in your advertisements, it's not ethically right, right? Bullying people, like, it's not ethically right. Like, in your advertisement, if you want to get attention, you have, create a story like, where you bully a person, which is not ethically right, right? So therefore, you need to act as a responsible marketer, responsible communicator, right? Then only people will start, uh, you know, creating that positivity around your brand, your organizations, right? Advertising, sales, promotions, I think I discussed. Personal sales, these things I have discussed. Yeah. So this is about the promotion mix, right? I think this would be enough for you to, do your assessment, right? Your, small thesis that you are going to do is not a big one, right? Word count is around 100, 1,500, 1,500 word count. Try to stick to that. Referencing, Harvard referencing, plagiarisms, like, you have to be mindful when you are, using certain sources, right? You have to, clearly highlight those things and, give as references, right? Do your own work, right? Not an AI work. AI work will definitely get, checked. Not recommending that, so the language part, like, so we are not going to, evaluate on the language, like, however, if you clearly communicate what you want to communicate in your report, that would be fine, right? So that's the requirement. You start it. I have not got the deadline, but definitely it will be uploaded in the portal, right? From the institute, they will share. Um, right? Okay, so that's it from my end, and I wish you all the best with your assessment, and hope, like, you guys would do a great job, right? In the meantime, if you have anything, you can just message me. I think you all have my number. I will reach out to you all. I will, give anything, like, so anything related to marketing, you can ask me. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. All the best.